You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. All right, welcome to our channel. We are the True Crime and Wine Couple. My name's Pete. This is Mary. We'll be coming to you once a week at least, bringing all sorts of stuff to do with crime, and we'll also be drinking wine while we're doing it. Actually, the bottle of wine that we're drinking today is from Veritas Vineyards in Virginia. It's a Sauvignon Blanc.
Which is not his favorite, but is mine, so this should be interesting.
Yes, no, I am not a big fan, but there you go.
Thank you.
All right. Here's
cheers. Dry but juicy at the same time. Very fruit forward.
It's got a weird flavor.
That's usually all you get from him. You get it's weird, or it tastes like soap, or he doesn't know what's wrong with it, but he can't drink it.
No. But I'll drink it anyway, because we don't want any wine to go to waste.
We drank a lot of good wine this year, and we also listened to a lot of true crime information.
Yes,
read it, listened to it, and I pretty much lived it.
Yes, you did.
So, with it being the end of the year, we are going to do my top cases of 2023 with commentary by Peter. And then I'm going to talk about the cases that I'm looking forward to in the upcoming year. Let's hope they go to trial, or I'm going to probably not be a happy camper. This wine is very good, by the way. If you're a Sauvignon Blanc lover, I would recommend this. But I guess you would have to like Sauvignon Blanc first.
Afton, Virginia is where they're out of, if you're ever down that way.
Okay, so the number one case, well, it's not the number one. These are in no particular order, since it was too hard to order them. They're just all important in their own way. So the first one was Alex Murdaugh, which most people could not pronounce it right. It was either Alex Murdaugh or Alex Murdaugh. And that one is still actually being battled. Now they're going after all his money issues and things like that. And there's also some issues with the clerk that wrote a book that was plagiarized that is no longer for sale now. So
isn't his kid named Buster?
Buster, yes.
Yeah, Buster's going down for something eventually.
Yeah, well, Paul and Maggie were killed. Paul was his son, but his son Buster, yes, there is a connection to a murder, a local murder with his son Buster of an LGBTQ young man. And there is information coming out on that, but that hasn't gone to trial yet, and they haven't made any arrest of Buster. And Alex Murdaugh seems to be living his best life in jail. I mean, there's tons of pictures of him on his iPad contacting people about his show that he can't even profit from. Yeah.
I don't get that.
And his wife beater lying on his bed in prison. So here's to you, Alex.
Not the good
you can't have this in prison, but they probably can't. They have everything in prison, right? Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Exactly.
Now the second one that is worth mentioning is Taylor Schabusiness, because there's no business like Schabusiness. And that was a really weird trial that I watched over the summer when I was binge watching everything, because I was going to start teaching forensics in September. So I spent a lot of time watching the Taylor Schabusiness trial, and, well, your lover's head in a bucket that his mother found, enough said. So if you're into that sort of thing, you might want to go watch that. The thing that stood out to me about that trial was there was some expert on the stand. I don't know the woman's name. If you know, please put it in the comments. Or if that's you, hit me up. I'd love to talk to you because I thought you were awesome. Anyway, she goes on the stand and she talked about how Taylor Schabusiness took a selfie with a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer. And she also had to testify that, Taylor Schabusiness said something about Jeffrey Dahmer's fine ass. And she couldn't even do it with a straight face.
It's good to have role models.
She couldn't even do it with a straight face, this poor woman that was on the stand. And I just really felt for her, because I would have been like totally cracking laughing if I was on the stand. I couldn't have said Jeffrey Dahmer's sexy ass, in front of cameras and everything. The trial,
you sort of just did.
It was televised. Yeah, but I wasn't like on crime TV talking about it. You know what I mean? So that was some really weird, crazy, kinky stuff. I can't talk about it because I'm a high school teacher and I probably will have students who might watch this at some point. So it's bad enough that I'm drinking wine. But yeah, if you're into really weird, kinky stuff and heads and buckets, I would recommend you follow the Taylor Schabusiness trial. And I know you're into all that kind of stuff, so I'm sure you'll be looking that up as soon as we're done with the podcast, right?
I will not. No.
Next is Lori Vallow, the Doomsday Cult Mom. And that is a twisted rabbit hole of craziness. She killed both her children. And the person that she committed these crimes with, he's going to go on trial next year. That's Chad Daybell. Lori Vallow, however, did not waive her right to a speedy trial. She wanted the speedy trial. So they took the death penalty off the table. And she also was extradited to, I believe it was it Arizona? I don't know. We're going to have to we need a sleuth. It might be you with your phone. So she's been extradited for another crime. And any internet sleuths, if you want to join us, we'd love to have you. I lost my train of thought. It must be the wine. I hardly had any, though.
Doesn't take much.
So she was extradited for other crimes that she committed. And she was found guilty. However, she did not receive the death penalty, which I find interesting, because of the fact that she decided to go with the speedy trial. So for Chad Daybell, who goes on trial next year, the death penalty is on the table. So because he didn't he didn't want the speedy trial. Also, his ex-wife was killed. So he's on his ex-wife that's like a different crime that he, you know what I mean, that she wasn't involved in. But basically, a lot of people were killed by Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. I mean, family members, exes,
Are these the two that went to Hawaii and
yeah,
are they the ones?
Yeah, the Doomsday Cult. Yeah. So, and she took them 18 hours to drive her where she had to go. Can you imagine being the dude in that car?
No.
Yeah, and he said she was very chatty.
I can imagine.
I was well. At first, they didn't try her because she wasn't mentally competent, but then she was tried. So
she wasn't, then she was.
She wasn't, then she was.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess mental health changes over time, right?
I guess you can only fake it for so long.
That's true. They say you can only fake it. You can't fake it a year. You can't fake it 4 seasons, right? Even if you're with somebody who's like a psychopath or a sociopath, it's 4 seasons. Okay, next was the Maya, the Take Care of Maya trial.
Don't know that one.
Okay, yes, you do know this one.
I do?
Because we talked about this at length. Yeah, she's the one that got awarded $211 million.
Is that from the hospital?
Yes, her mother committed suicide.
Oh, and she was the what was it? What's that term? Man.
It wasn't. No. They accused the mother of Munchausen by proxy.
Right.
Yeah. Shout out to Gypsy Rose, who just got out of prison and married a special education teacher, which I am. Makes me feel weird. But anyway, so Maya got $211 million. Her mother committed suicide. Maya was on some very strange treatments for some weird illnesses, one of which included a huge dose of ketamine, which we just found out that's what killed Chandler.
Yeah.
So she was getting these ketamine infusions, and I guess the mom just did what any, loving mom would do. She freaked out all the time, which if you didn't know what was wrong with your kid, I don't have kids, you have kids. If you didn't know what was wrong with your kid, I'd probably freak out more than you would anyway. But yes.
Probably.
So they took custody away from the mother, and the mother wound up committing suicide, and Maya actually did have the condition. So she was awarded $211 million. But now that's not over, because there is some controversy with juror number 1, who is being accused of misconduct. So I don't know if this is going to get retried. I don't know what's going to happen here. But Maya might not be getting her $211
what kind
million.
of misconduct?
That's a good question. Do you know that?
Was she like?
Do you know that there's so much true crime in my head?
Like, okay,
Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put that on Pete's sleuth list. I will write that right down right now. That is something he could look up.
Not good.
Okay, so because there is so much stuff in my head that I can't even keep it straight. So you're going to sleuth. What was your question about Maya again?
What was up with the juror?
Okay, so Maya juror. Also, that was weird. They decided really, really fast. For that kind of money, it seems strange to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder if he was getting a cut.
I don't know. We'll have to find out what happened with juror number 1. Which jury, well, that almost got Scott Peterson a retrial. A problem with the juror. Okay, next up was Tim Ferreter, the boy in the box trial. So Tim Ferreter was a dude in Florida who I believe he was.
Of course he was.
He was very religious. I believe Mormon, which is weird because you don't normally hear about Mormons in Florida. But anyway, Tim Ferreter adopted this child with what they call reactive attachment disorder.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, so that means that they don't bond to a caregiver.
Right.
And those kids will have all kinds of issues throughout their life. Many become, have issues with violence, acting out, criminal activity, things like that. So Tim Ferreter kept this kid in a box, and they were moving to Florida. I forget where they lived. I know you're going to ask that. I got to really I'm going to have to write all my details down because he asked a lot of questions that don't. Like, it matters to him where Tim Ferreter lived before he moved to Florida. All that matters to me is what Tim Ferreter did, but it matters to him that he lived somewhere before he moved to Florida. He must know the location. So you'll have to look that up too. We're going to put him on sleuth patrol. So anyway, he moves to Florida, and he gets this contractor to build this box for his kid in his garage. So the contractor turns him in. So it turns out he kept the kid in the box at the other location where they lived, and he had cameras on the kid. So the whole thing was audio and video recorded. So Tim Ferreter basically kept this kid in this box. He couldn't eat with his family. He could only use a bucket to go to the bathroom, number 1 and number 2. So he would have to, if he went, he would have to empty that. Although if he went during the night, he couldn't empty the bucket until the next day. Right. So, of course, Tim Ferreter has all this stuff on video and audio because apparently he's not the brightest bulb in the box. But anyway, they're going to build this box. The guy turns him in, and they have all this audio and video of this kid. And
how old was the kid?
The kid at the time was, I think, a freshman or sophomore in high school. Oh. Now he's
Did he go to school?
He did go to school. They did send him to school. Yeah. But when he came home, he'd have to go right in the box.
So he was okay at school, but he wasn't okay at home.
He acted out at school as well. They did have some teachers and stuff testify, and how he acted out at school, strangely enough, was going to his siblings' classes and kind of trying to embarrass them or cause them some kind of. And the kid admitted it right on the stand. I mean, you could tell the kid's got issues. I mean, yeah. So I mean, RAD is about as pretty much as bad as it gets psychologically, So anyway, that's RAD is reactive attachment disorder. If you don't know what that is, if you work with kids in any capacity, like I do, you know what that was. So anyway, Tim Ferreter could have taken a plea deal and gotten 1 year in prison, but he decided that he was going to take his chances and have a trial. Probably because he thinks he didn't do anything wrong, because he thought he was controlling his kid the best way he could, So Tim Ferreter winds up getting 4 years in prison when he could have just got 1.
4 or 40?
4.
4.
Okay. Yes. And now his wife is going to be going on trial too in the beginning of next year.
As she should.
Well, I think if he had pled, she wouldn't have had to, but he wouldn't plead. So probably a little narcissistic that he thinks he's going to get away with that, and he'd rather go to trial than take his year. But anyway. Oh, and then Tim Ferreter also complained about getting out of prison as soon as he was put in prison, because he wasn't really a danger to anybody, and his son really wasn't around anymore, so he wasn't going to abuse any more kids, so they should just let him out of prison. Obviously, you know where that went. Tim Ferreter's still sitting in a Florida prison, which, yes. If you're going to go to a prison, I don't know if Florida would be the way to go. So that's boy in a box. All right, next we have, this is very recent. In fact, she just got sentenced. Well, no, she hasn't been sentenced yet. She just got convicted. There's been no sentence yet. So this is the torture murder trial. And the mom that was just convicted of murder was Shonda Vander Ark, who surprisingly had just earned her legal degree and just passed the bar before she went on trial. Her son had special needs. She also had an older son who lived with her who helped torture this child, and which led to his death. He was 15, and he was 67 pounds at death. And then when she was on the stand and she saw the picture of him that they took when he was dead, she vomited. And then she didn't show up for her sentencing because she was having mental health issues. So that's Shonda Vander Ark, and she'll be sentenced. I'm assuming she's going to get life in prison with no parole. Yeah, I don't think she'll get the death penalty, but she definitely. It's definitely going to be life in prison with no chance of parole. I think the son's going to plead. So he was just on the stand
How old is
last
the son?
week. The son was 19.
So he was an adult.
Yeah, and they had all the text messages and they had everything. Yeah. But I think that they took pity on the son because she was the mastermind. And there was
she probably manipulated him to do whatever.
Yeah, well, they have all the text messages and everything. I mean, she didn't let him eat. She didn't let him. It's terrible. I don't even want to talk about it because it's a child. And I'm a special education teacher, and this kid had special needs. He was on the autism spectrum. But if it's something you want to look up, it's really horrible, and it's not for the faint of heart. And you'd be going down quite the rabbit hole if you look that up. So I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, if that's what you're into, that's probably why you'd be watching this. If anybody is ever going to watch this, we don't know, it's our first time. So anyway, I would recommend you tread lightly with that one. Okay, next we have Mackenzie Shirilla. Mackenzie Shirilla decided that she was going to have her boyfriend and his friend in her car and go for a ride, and all of a sudden she was going to accelerate her car to 100 miles an hour and crash into, I believe it was a wall, and kill her boyfriend and his friend, who was also her friend, and she lives and they die. And it was definitely your typical, what us Xers and boomers might think of Generation Z type of person on the stand. A lot of very entitled, thought she was never going to get convicted, thought she did nothing wrong, got on social media, posted how much she loved him, blah, blah, blah. You know how kids do nowadays. This was, of course, after she killed him, and of course the thing was on video. But she thought nothing was going to happen to her. And if you want to see entitlement of the younger generation at its finest, watch the sentencing of Mackenzie Shirilla. You can watch it right on Court TV or any other channel on YouTube, or you could just Google it on the web. That definitely will show you what the entitlement of the younger generation. Next, speaking of the entitlement of the younger generation, Hannah Payne, the vigilante sheriff's deputy.
Oh, she's not the dumbass that followed that guy and shot him and said she was deputized on the spot. But God.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
Now, Mackenzie Shirilla and Hannah Payne, based on their ages at the time of the trial, Mackenzie Shirilla was 17. Hannah was 19. They both are going to be eligible for parole. I don't know how people feel about that, but based on their age at the time of the crimes, they will be eligible for parole. So I believe so. I believe Mackenzie's eligible for parole. I'm pretty sure.
They need to.
Yeah, because she was only 17 at the time. Yeah, so
they need to stay right where they are.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? The Michigan school shooter. He was sick. He was 14, right? Yeah. 14, and he just got no parole.
Good.
As did the kid out of Florida who killed Tristan Bailey. Aiden Fucci. He got life
Oh,
in
well,
prison.
he was just evil.
Both of those would have been death.
Well,
If
that
had
dude
those boys been
yeah.
18, it would have been death penalty. Yeah. So Hannah Payne. Yeah. It was a minor accident, and they think the guy was like in his 60s, and they think he might have been disoriented, so he kind of drove away. So she took it upon herself to, follow him because she was deputized and shoot him. She had the gun out, pointed the gun, claimed he grabbed the gun. The whole thing was on video, so there you go. I don't know why these people just don't plead if it's on video.
No.
Like you're going to...
And everything's on video now.
Right, exactly.
You can't do anything without being on video.
No, I always tell my students that too. Everything you do is on video. 2 things. You're on video and don't talk to the cops. Next we have the super skank of the year, Letitia Stout, who tortured and killed her stepson, Gannon Stout. His dad was in the military and left the kid in her care. And she killed him and then decided to drive him from Colorado to Florida in the trunk of her car. Yep, I don't know why she did that, but she drove him to Florida. Another terrible, torturous death, and then they leaked, remember, Zav Girl on YouTube? I could say who she was because she did it. Put the pictures, put his autopsy pictures.
Oh,
and
yeah.
remember that whole big thing, that whole big controversy that was going on? Just terrible, awful what was done to that child. By all accounts, he was a real sweet kid. His dad was like a normal guy who, loved his kid. He wasn't a terrible dad. He just trusted the wrong person. She had other kids that she was a great mom to, treated well. And for some reason, Gannon was the target, which often happens in a lot of those kind of cases. So, yeah, I mean, just a horrible, disgusting, depraved, skanky human being, Letitia Stout. And then the last one was probably our favorite video of the year, which I'm going to say this and you're not going to know what I'm talking about, but when I tell you, you're going to know. Caitlin Armstrong. Remember, she escaped from the cops. Remember, she killed the Mo. Her name was. She was a professional cyclist. And this chick was having
Yeah. Was this in Texas?
Was it? I think it might have been Texas. And remember, and she escaped from the cops. Remember? Yeah. Remember when the cop was like, he was like this older, bigger dude, and she's like pretty. She's an attractive woman, and she's young and she's athletic. So she escaped from the cops, and it was like it was funny. Yeah, if you want to watch something funny, I would recommend Caitlin Armstrong because escaping from the cops because that was funny. That was funny stuff. So they were my top cases of the year because you don't even have much to say about them anyway. Okay, and then we're going to talk about what I'm looking forward to in 2024, and I think one of these you're looking forward to. Okay, so in 2024, we're looking forward to. I'll say my favorite one last because I have a lot to say about that. First off, developments in the Lisk case. Rex Heuermann. What do you think about the hair being found on all his wife's hair on every single victim?
I think there's going to be a lot more victims, and I think she is going to be tangled into it somehow.
Okay. Do you think she helped and killed them, brought them, kind of knew? What do you think?
She definitely knew. You
think she knew about his kinks and his murders, or just about his kinks?
Both.
Both? Okay.
I think she was involved in the kinks, and I think she may have also helped lure some of these women for him.
Yeah, because well, and that happens a lot because you tend to trust a couple more than you.
And I think it's going to turn out there's going to be a lot more victims too, spread out.
Well, yeah, because there's ties to New Jersey, Vegas,
South Carolina, Vegas,
Carolinas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And didn't he have 2 of the same car?
Yes, I believe
kind
so.
Of didn't Richard Allen have 3 Ford Focuses?
Yeah.
I guess that's a.
Hey, well, they're kind of like you.
I know.
I think you like it, yeah.
Hey, I bought a Subaru this time.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I have become. All right. So Lisk, that should be interesting. I don't think it'll go to trial next year, though. Do you?
No. I think.
Do you think he'll? I would have in the beginning said he was going to plead.
He's not pleading.
But his wife has that. She's got Peacock. Is it Peacock?
I'm not sure which network it is.
Or TM's one of those.
Somebody's following
her,
paying her.
So obviously,
I think it might be Peacock.
Obviously she's going to trial. I mean, he's going to trial if she's got people following her.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to plead.
So there'll be Lisk. And the good news about Lisk is it's right in our backyard. So if I want to go see anything for Lisk and I'm off of work or in the summer, because I'm a teacher, I can go watch Lisk. Okay. And then the second thing I'm looking forward to for next year is more developments in the Brian Kohberger case, the Idaho murders.
I don't think there's going to be much developments.
Well, they had originally said they might go to trial in June.
They're not.
I don't see that happening.
They're
Or what?
not.
No, wait, July. I'm sorry. I don't. I should mention the victims too. I shouldn't just mention the. The victims were Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. That I hate to just mention the perpetrator. So, but. And did you know that today is officially 1 day since they caught him? Here in the Poconos.
I knew it was this time of year.
Yeah,
I didn't
it
know
was
what the
today.
exact
Yeah,
date was.
yeah, it came up in my Facebook memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going on there. I don't think it's ever going to trial. I don't think they want to put those roommates on the stand.
I know you don't think it is. I think it is going to go to trial. I don't think it's going to be next year. I think it'll be at least a year or two down the road. And I think they need to really tie up the timeline, and they need to do some of that DNA. They better have bulletproof DNA people going on the stand. But if I was on the jury, you would have to really lay out that timeline to convince me that this dude was able to do what he did in that brief amount of time. And now that they tore that house down, see, if I was on the jury, I would have loved to go in the house just to see the layout of it, to see how hard it is to move around. I mean, he did 4 murders in the span of what, 15 minutes at the most.
12, I think.
12, yeah, it might have been
Between
less.
12 and 16.
Yeah,
And the timeline for that is based on the DoorDash, right?
Right.
Delivery, right. So,
and the DoorDash and then the camera,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm. Now, a friend of mine,
I don't know. There's a lot going on with that. If I was on that jury, I would be a hard one to convince, I think.
shout out to my friend Mary, my other friend Mary, who's obsessed with this case, Mary A. And she thinks they have the knife. She has been down the Reddit rabbit hole, and we spend many, many hours messaging each other on Facebook Messenger.
There's no way they have the
And
knife.
she says they have the knife.
There's no way
She
they have
says
the knife.
they have the knife. I'm telling. I don't know. We'll see.
I know
We'll
what
see
she's saying,
happens.
but there's no way.
We'll see how it plays out.
No.
It's not going to trial. There's no way they want to put those girls on the stand. They do not want this going to trial. And BK, I think it's a slam dunk, and I think he's.
Now
smart
shout
enough
out to
know
my boy
that.
Cletus, because Cletus Cletus laid out the way it probably did happen. If it was BK, he probably had on these overalls to cover, all of his body.
Oh boy, so every team in the Poconos has them.
So like Carhartt overalls or something that covered him, and he probably had the knife in one of his pockets. And when he pulled that knife out, he probably had the sheath in his pocket, and when he was doing one of the murders, it probably just fell out. And by the time he got back downstairs and realized, oh no, he didn't have time to go get it. But I can guarantee you, he did not make the mistake of keeping the knife. That knife is long.
And that is all speculation, and that is Pete's opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. We have to say that. I
Yes.
have to remind him of all the legalities, because I listen to all this stuff, so I know.
Is it an opinion if it's right?
Well,
I guess we'll find out.
Until it's proven in trial, yes, it is your
Right.
opinion. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Also, I heard something about possibly the door locking behind him. So he killed Maddie. Well, we know Madison and Kaylee were in the same bed. That much we know, and we know how it was kind of pushed up against because they said Kaylee was pretty much collateral damage because the way the bed was pushed up against the wall, she couldn't escape. So I heard that the door closed automatically behind him, because the doors did that in those rooms. But then I don't know how he got in. I don't know all the details, but so the door closed behind him, and then he's like, oh, poop, I left the sheath. And then it was like, oh, well, you're not going back. You're locked out. You can't get the sheath. Who knows? Because he wouldn't have been able to try to break back into the room with Dylan, the one roommate right there, right? If she saw him.
There's a lot to convince with that timeline that they have.
I think BK knows way too much. I think he studied all the greats, who he would think are the greats, and he knows that he's getting convicted, and he's gonna try to get a better deal. a la Chris Watts.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Plus,
He's going to trial.
If he's in prison in Idaho, he's gonna be very far away from his family. So maybe they could hook him up with some nice, prison in Ohio, more of a federal, more like a Chris Watts, like a Dodge Correctional, rather than where Chris Watts would have had to be. So I guess we'll see that play out. And then the biggest thing that's going to happen in 2024, in my opinion, is going to happen on January 18th. And that is when the Indiana Supreme Court will hear arguments from both sides of the Richard Allen trial, both the public defenders of the state of Indiana, because they filed, and then Judge Gull, Fran Siegel, her lawyer filed. What they're filing for is to get his attorneys, Bradley, Rosie, and Baldwin. Bradley, Rosie, and what the heck is Baldwin?
Baldwin and Rosie. That's all I know.
Okay, Baldwin and Rosie. I'll look. I'll remember those last names. They want to stay on the case. Richard Allen wants them to stay on his case, and the judge kicked them off the case and got him 2 new lawyers, both of which were her Facebook friends.
Mm-hmm.
Scremin, and nobody could ever remember the other guy's name. Scremin has the man bun. I think that's why we all remember Scremin. You never forget a good man bun. So they're going to hear arguments. So the two major things are going to be, can Richard Allen keep his attorneys? Because they did agree to represent him pro bono. And then also, is Fran Gull going to get kicked off the case? Because what she did was she accused Rosie and Baldwin of gross incompetence. Well, it started out as negligence. Right. It started out as negligence, but then it was negligence and incompetence. And she accused him of that. Now, one other thing that I have not seen pointed out in any other podcast, and I have asked this on Reddit, and I have asked this in discussions of podcasts. So if anybody knows, I really want to know. And we noticed it when Gull said that he was accused of rape and murder, right? And the only thing that we've seen come out in the Delphi case is murder. There's been nothing coming out about rape at all. So we don't know why she said that. If you know why she said that.
But she said it.
We both heard it, right?
Yeah, she said it.
We both heard it. And we were shocked because it's not on Reddit.
Nobody said a word about it.
We've read pretty much the whole probable cause affidavit, and we've also pretty much listened to or read most of the Franks memorandum.
I've read it a couple times.
Okay. So he has access to a desktop all day. I don't, because I'm in the classroom. He's at home. So anyway, if anybody saw anything about that, if anybody knows anything about that, I have been on Reddit. I have been down the rabbit hole. I cannot find anything about that. Another thing I'm really, really curious about is the Kevin Kline connection. Some people say there's none. Some people say there is. The timeline of that was just way too weird for there not to be some kind of connection. It's strange. I don't know.
There's a definite connection because not only that, but they also identified him and his father at the scene.
True, they did. Yes.
Well, not at the scene, but in the general area on the day of the murders.
Right. And they said there's no connection.
Because they have like a PT Cruiser or something, right? That they.
Well, that was his grandmother's. The PT Cruiser that they thought initially belonged to belonged to his grandmother. Correct. Yeah, so there's something going on there. Delphi is just a big cluster. There's something up there. My theory is that Fran Gull did what she did because Baldwin and Rosie said they were ready to go to trial in January. And I don't think anybody else was ready to go. I think Baldwin and Rosie and Richard Allen were the only 3.
No, it is very obvious that Judge Gull is in the prosecution camp.
Right.
There's just no.
And then there's all craziness with podcasters and people doxing each other and people getting demonetized, and there's just so much more to this. I don't know. I have no idea. So, one other thing they're gonna decide upon too is I know a lot about how it works. I don't know if anybody wants me to explain how it works, but basically how it works is each side gets a half hour. It's going to be streamed live. They stream everything from the Supreme Court there, and Richard Allen's representatives go first, and they can also go last. So they could do like 20 minutes, let Fran Goals do his thing for a half hour, and then they follow up with 10 minutes. I'm thinking that might be what they do.
Right.
So they get to go first. So I think that's good. That's an advantage, definitely, because you always remember, right, what was said first and what was said last.
It's going to be interesting to see if she's allowed to stay on the case. I think it's almost a slam
my
dunk
prediction, right?
that Baldwin and Rozzi will be put back on the case.
But what I told you is I think they're going to be allowed to be on if they do it pro bono.
Which is fine, which they've already agreed to.
Right.
Which they've already agreed to, which also tells you that they think that they really do have a really good case, because that's going to be extraordinarily expensive that they're not going to be getting reimbursed for.
They would not be, right, exactly.
So they are looking down the line.
And most of the podcasters you listen to, especially the ones that understand defense, like shout out to Bob Mata, Defense Diaries, he basically says they believe in his innocence. Because everybody says
they have to.
They could have taken that.
Either they believe in his innocence or they believe in their defense.
Or they
believe they're going to win.
Well, they could believe in the corruption of Indiana too.
And I think all of that's going on in this case.
Right.
I think there's incompetence, corruption,
because that was an easy out for them. I mean, who would really want to work this case?
Involved in this.
Those guys got to have solid gold, you know what? Because I mean, really, I would have gotten the hell out of that case if I was a defense attorney, wouldn't you?
This could be a career maker for them.
Yeah, but they can't write a book or profit off
No, but
they
can. But
that's true.
They're the guy that got Richard Allen off in Delphi. Now
that's true.
Like, they can name their price.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So that's what we're looking forward to. I won't be in Delphi in January. I'll be probably taking a personal day and letting them stream it live, because I'm not going to be able to be at school and do my job while I know that that's going on, and I'm going to miss that. And also, if they're also going to vote on if Richard Allen gets tried in 70 days. So if he
that's going to depend on if he gets Baldwin and Rozzi back. If he gets those two back, then they can go to trial.
Right, I understand.
If they have to go with these two new dudes,
but they have to rule on it anyway. So
it's going to take forever.
Yeah, but the Supreme Court has to rule on that either way. So if they get reinstated, this could possibly go to trial. And I don't think they're going to kick Gull off, because I don't think Gull did anything that bad.
I don't think they are either.
But it's going to be awkward AF, right? I mean, I can't even imagine. So if that happens in 70 days, that will coincide with my spring break.
Yeah, right around spring break.
And I will be in Indiana, and I can drive to Indiana, because I thought about flying Spirit Airline, but it's only 10 hours, and I think I'd rather have my car on me. So
yes, I think you would.
So that's what we're looking forward to in 2024, and more wine. We have tons of wine.
Yes, if you'll notice on our YouTube channel, there's a lot of older videos. We used to be called the Whining Day Trippers, and we did a lot of wine videos where we go to vineyards, we taste different wines, and that sort of all got shut down because of COVID. So we're sort of reinventing ourselves, but all those videos are still available if you just want to go back and laugh at us or get some good ideas for some wineries.
Did you post our big argument that we had in the cornfield, or no?
Yeah, that's on there.
Oh, great. Okay, so if you want to see what a biatch I could be, you can watch the cornfield.
Yeah, that's in there.
So, any other commentary?
Nope, that was it. You actually covered what I wanted to cover.
So we made our predictions for the 18th are, my prediction is Rozzi and Baldwin are reinstated, but they have to represent him pro bono.
Yes.
And Gull's still on the case.
Yes, I agree.
And it's going to really suck if they force Gull to go to trial in 70 days, because that is
well, they will. I think they will, because
yeah,
all the same players are in place. So there's no because they were supposed to go to trial in January,
right?
And because of all this, which is I think what Judge Gull wanted, was to give the prosecution
more time.
I
think it was Scott Reich who said it. Scott Reich is on Crime Talk. Love him, by the way. Shout out to Scott Reich. He basically said, they would have had to work all Christmas. They would have had to work. They wouldn't have gotten this week off,
So basically what they got to do was they got to spend time together. The prosecution, the judge, and these new defense attorneys at the Christmas parties.
Can you imagine how awkward that trial is going to be, though, if they have to deal with each other? Because she basically...
Oh, it's going to be very contentious.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So if you watch, please comment on the rape and murder that Fran Gull mentioned. Oh, I have to call it SA. My bad. We have to, if we're ever going to go to YouTube. The essay and that's how they kind of say it, of the two girls in Delphi. Oh, and yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, would have been Liberty German's 21st birthday. She would have turned 21 yesterday had she lived. So yesterday was a big day because there was that, and it would have been Libby's birthday. They tore down the Idaho house.
Which was stupid.
And Gypsy Rose Blanchard
is living her best life.
Prison with her special education.
Hey, good luck for her meeting Taylor Swift. I know that's her big goal for the
she
weekend.
wants to hook up with Kim Kardashian too. She's looking to hook up with Kim Kardashian.
I know her big goal for the weekend is to meet Taylor Swift.
I think probably the only people she's going to hook up with are the other teachers that the special education teacher works with, probably, and maybe some of the students are going to be awfully curious about her. A lot of my former students are all over social media with Gypsy Rose stuff. She probably would have been a big story of their generation, I would think. Yeah. So next week we'll be recapping what happened.
Yes.
In crime, and he's going to have to spend more time researching.
Yes, I am.
Because this is pretty much my life, and now he is in my world. Yes.
All right, well.
It's my world. You're just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.
Like us, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.